The Unseen Threat: 5 Reasons Why the World Instinctively Fears Spiritually Free People, according to Jung. Your very existence makes others profoundly uncomfortable. Not always because of what you explicitly say or do, but because of what you fundamentally are: a spiritually and psychologically free individual. Carl Jung discovered why society instinctively fears and attempts to subtly suppress individuals who have achieved genuine psychological freedom. It's not a grand conspiracy or conscious oppression. It's what Jung called the collective unconscious, defending itself against the fundamental threat that conscious, individuated individuals represent to established, unconscious structures. Today, I'm revealing Jung's 5 compelling reasons why the world fears spiritually free people. These insights explain why your awakening triggers such strong, often irrational reactions in others, why society seems to create endless, subtle obstacles to consciousness, and why your profound sense of inner freedom feels dangerously contagious to those still imprisoned by convention. Here's what Jung discovered that changes everything. Spiritually free individuals don't threaten the collective through rebellion or outright rejection. They threaten it through simple, undeniable transcendence. Your freedom exposes others' imprisonment. Your unforced authenticity reveals their forced performance. Your quiet peace highlights their internal conflict. Jung called this the mirror effect of individuation. The awakened person becomes a living reflection that shows others precisely what they are not yet ready to see or face within themselves. Reason 1. You prove the prison is voluntary. The first reason reveals why your mere presence profoundly disturbs the collective. Jung discovered that spiritually free individuals represent what he called living proof of optional imprisonment. Simply by existing freely, by operating outside the accepted psychological limits, you demonstrate that the chains everyone accepts as reality are actually choices. The limiting beliefs people organize their entire lives around are revealed as optional. The external structures they consider necessary for stability are shown to be voluntary. Your freedom proves the prison doors were never locked. They've been holding them tightly closed themselves. Here's the terrifying implication. Most people live within what Jung termed invisible cages. Accepts as a necessary suffering is actually chosen suffering. This existential proof manifests in specific, confrontational ways. You work and create without paralyzing anxiety about external outcomes, showing that career stress is optional. You engage in relationships without desperately needing validation, proving that approval-seeking is a choice. You live your unique life without comparing yourself to others' achievements, demonstrating that the constant competition is voluntary. Each aspect of your profound freedom reveals another bar of the collective cage as imaginary. What makes this so threatening is that it invalidates entire life structures. If someone has sacrificed their authenticity for decades in pursuit of external security, your authentic freedom suggests their life's sacrifice was, perhaps, unnecessary. If they've spent 20 years climbing corporate ladders, your quiet contentment without that achievement implies their climbing was, at a deeper level, psychologically pointless. Your existence retroactively questions every major compromise they've ever made. Jung identified what he called the freedom mirror, how spiritually free people reflect others' imprisonment without even trying. You don't need to point out their cages. Your freedom makes the bars visible. You don't criticize their choices. Your dramatically different choices reveal theirs as choices rather than unchangeable necessities. You become what Jung called an unwitting revealer. The irony Jung identified is that your freedom could inspire their freedom, but the paralyzing fear of their own past choices prevents this recognition. Instead of seeing you as a signpost showing what's possible, they see you as a danger, threatening what is familiar. Instead of learning from your example, they feel compelled to aggressively defend against it. Reason 2. Your authenticity makes their masks unbearable. Jung's second insight strikes deep into the heart of social life. Spiritually free individuals have courageously dropped what he called the persona, the social mask everyone wears to navigate the world. When you interact authentically, without performance or pretense, it instantly makes others acutely aware of their own heavy masks. This awareness is psychologically Jung wrote, "The authentic person doesn't remove others' masks. They make others aware of wearing the mask. This awareness creates an unbearable tension between who they are and who they are forced to pretend to be. This mask awareness manifests in observable, anxious reactions. Excessive performance. People may become excessively performative around you, nervously overcompensating for suddenly feeling fake. Defensive reality. They may become aggressively real, displaying an artificial, aggressive form of authenticity that is just another, tighter mask. Withdrawal. They might withdraw completely, unable to maintain their constructed persona while feeling its profound artificiality in your presence. Attack. They often attack your authenticity as naive, inappropriate, unprofessional, or even arrogant. What makes authenticity so profoundly threatening is that it reveals the sheer exhaustion of performance. Maintaining personas requires enormous continuous energy. The constant monitoring of one's image, the careful construction of responses, the perpetual adjustment of presentation. It is psychologically depleting. When people encounter someone who is not performing this exhausting ritual, they become immediately aware of their own depletion. The threat goes beyond individual masks to what Jung called collective mask agreements. Groups, families, and professional environments maintain shared, unspoken personas. Social circles where everyone performs happiness, or professional settings where everyone pretends to care about abstract corporate goals. Your authenticity breaks these sacred agreements, making everyone else's performance visible. This creates authenticity panic. People around you suddenly feel the urgent need to be authentic too, but they have no idea how. They have worn their masks so long, they have forgotten their actual, authentic face. The prospect of genuine authenticity feels like death, which it is, the death of the false self, but without the comforting certainty of knowing what would remain. Jung observed that authentic individuals often experience what he called social exile, not dramatic, theatrical rejection, but subtle, systemic exclusion. You are subtly not invited to gatherings where performance is mandatory. You are left out of conversations that depend on motivation. Your non-participation threatens the entire comparative structure. Here is the societal engine Jung described. Society operates through hierarchical positioning. Everyone knows their place through comparison. Better than some, worse than others, constantly measuring and adjusting position. This comparative framework drives economics, relationships, and self-worth. When you stop comparing, you become impossible to position, threatening everyone's fragile sense of order. Jung wrote, "The person who has ceased comparing becomes incomparable, literally unable to be compared. This makes them deeply disturbing to those who know themselves only through comparison. This escape from comparison manifests powerfully, debilitating for status because status is built entirely on comparison. Enriched, you can't be motivated by the promise of being better or the fear of being worse, because those concepts have lost all meaning. Sexism, you celebrate others' success without feeling diminished, and accept your limitations without feeling inferior.
Your non-comparative existence seems fundamentally impossible to those deeply trapped in the loop. What makes this so threatening is that comparison requires participation to function. Jung observed that competitive structures instantly collapse when people stop competing. If you won't compare, others can't position themselves relative to you. Your non-participation creates what Jung called hierarchical vertigo. Others lose their psychological bearings without you as a reference point. Jung noted that the non-comparative individual often appears unmotivated to others. Without comparison driving you, traditional incentives fail. Promotions don't excite you because higher isn't meaningful without lower. Recognition doesn't motivate because being seen as special requires others to be ordinary. This is misinterpreted as apathy, but is actually what Jung called motivation beyond comparison, driven by intrinsic meaning, not extrinsic validation. The deepest threat is to identity itself. Jung noted that most people know themselves only through comparison. Smarter than him, prettier than her, more successful than them. Without comparison, they face what Jung called the terror of incomparable uniqueness, being so uniquely themselves that
authority structures obsolete. Your inner knowing threatens every form of external control. Here is the societal mechanism. Most people navigate life through external authority. Experts tell them what's true. Leaders tell them what's valuable. Systems tell them what's possible. This creates what Jung called borrowed knowing, living from others' truth rather than direct recognition. Then you appear, operating from inner authority, making decisions based on inner knowing, and following internal guidance. This demonstrates that external authority is optional, not mandatory. Jung wrote, the individuated person has become their own authority. They don't rebel against external authority, they simply don't need it. This is far more threatening than any rebellion could ever be. This inner authority manifests clearly. You make life decisions without needing expert validation, trusting your inner knowing over external, popular opinion. Dissemination accepted truths, not from skepticism, but from direct perception of a different internal truth. You follow unconventional paths because inner guidance supersedes social maps and expectations. This self-direction appears dangerously reckless to those who depend entirely on external direction. What makes inner authority so threatening is that it cannot be controlled. Jung observed that external authority maintains power through being the exclusive source of truth, direction, and validation. When you source these internally, external authority becomes irrelevant. You can't be controlled through approval or rejection. You can't be motivated by external rewards or punishments. You become psychologically ungovernable. This creates what Jung called authority anxiety in others. People who have always relied on external authority feel deeply uncomfortable, even threatened, around someone who is so self-directed. Your decisions seem reckless because they lack external validation. Your confidence seems arrogant because it doesn't seek permission. Your independence seems dangerous because it suggests theirs is possible. Reason 5. You embody the death of the false self. Jung's final insight is the most profound and taps into the deepest, most primordial. Building, defending, and promoting this fragile self. Then you appear, someone who let their false self die and survived. You are living proof that this death is both possible and survivable. Jung wrote, the free individual is living proof that ego death is not actual death. This terrifies those who believe they are their ego. Your existence whispers, you must die to truly live. This embodiment of ego death manifests in powerful, undeniable ways. You have no fixed identity to anxiously defend, making others aware of their desperate need to defend theirs. You are comfortable with a profound state of not knowing who you are, highlighting others' compulsive need for rigid self-definition. Sexism, you can genuinely say, "I don't know," without anxiety, revealing others' desperate need to appear certain. Your fluidity makes their psychological rigidity visible. What makes this so terrifying is that it threatens the core project of human life, building and maintaining a self. If this self isn't ultimately real, then life's entire project is revealed as an illusion. The terror goes deeper than losing identity. Jung observed that people equate their false self with existence itself. If I'm not my achievements, I'm nothing. If I'm not my relationships, I don't exist. Your existence after ego death suggests survival beyond identity. But this possibility is too terrifying for the collective to consider. This creates existential defense. People don't just resist your freedom, they must deny it to preserve their own constructed existence. They will insist you are pretending, deluded, or damaged. Accepting your genuine freedom would require facing their own false self's mortality. Jung noted that spiritually free individuals often trigger what he called proximity awakening in others. Being near someone who survived ego death can powerfully catalyze the ego death process in others. This isn't intentional, it's a resonance effect. Your freedom activates others' potential freedom. But most people flee this activation, experiencing it as a threat rather than a life-altering opportunity. The evolutionary catalyst, embracing the social cost of freedom. Here is Jung's complete picture of why the world instinctively fears spiritually free individuals. You prove the prison is voluntary. Between conscious individuals and unconscious collectives creates evolutionary pressure. Your freedom doesn't just threaten, it invites. Your authenticity doesn't just disturb, it awakens. Your transcendence doesn't just challenge, it inspires. Jung believed spiritually free individuals serve as evolutionary catalysts. Simply by existing, you create ripples in the collective consciousness. Some people flee these ripples, but others follow them to their own freedom. Each free individual makes the next freedom more possible. The practical implications for your life are challenging but clear. Expect resistance. It's not personal but structural. Anticipate fear. It's not about you, but what you fundamentally represent. Accept exile. It's temporary as consciousness inevitably spreads. Trust the process. Your freedom serves even those who currently fear it. If you're experiencing the world's fear of your spiritual freedom, if you're facing resistance, rejection, or incomprehension, you are not alone. You are part of what Jung called the individuating edge of humanity, pioneering consciousness in unconscious territory. To dive even deeper into Jung's revolutionary psychology and understand what it means to be an evolutionary catalyst, click the recommended video on your screen.